Good afternoon and welcome to the latest Demolition Daily LiveStream. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. Before we get into today's show, I wanted to give you a very quick heads up on a couple of shows we have coming your way. Our show guest tomorrow will be Roopa Craven of global auction house Ritchie Brothers. Ritchie's generally, as you probably know, specialises in large gatherings of machine and equally large gatherings of buyers. But obviously that isn't currently possible. So it'll be interesting to find out just how Ritchie Brothers have embraced and adapted technology to allow them to carry on with their usual work. It turns out apparently that they've been able to not just continue, but they've actually seen an upturn in the way that they work, and also some of the prices they're getting for machines as well. Bear with me a second, we've just got a slight hitch with technology here. In addition to the Ritchie Brothers show, which is 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we've also got coming up National Mental Health Awareness Week starts on Monday of next week. And to kickstart that week off, we've got a previous guest, Danny Kearney, is coming on to talk about all things mental health awareness. He will be here at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon, rather, as I say, to kick off the Mental Health Awareness Week. Now, I'm still struggling with technology, so bear with me just 1 second. I'm just going to go back a stage. Right, so our guest today, let's get straight into the show, and hopefully I can sort out the technology while we're doing that. 1 second. My apologies. We've just been overtaken by technology again. Oh dear, oh dear. Please talk amongst yourselves. I've the screen that I'm looking at here, which actually shows the live feed, is flashing on and off, and I'm not even sure if I'm on it, let alone anyone else. Bear. Okay, let's get started properly here. Just one more button to press and I'll be with you properly. I will edit all this out afterwards. Right, okay, so let's get on with the show, and my apologies for all the delays there. Today's guest is Keith Sleightholm of online training pioneer ProTrainings. If you're a listener to our Demolition News Radio podcast, you might know that Keith was a guest on episode 6 of our Training Talk mini-series. Just to give you a bit of context before I bring Keith in, while some in the training arena shut up shop or chose to exploit the current pandemic, Keith and his team launched a free COVID-19 training course. So to talk about that and a lot more besides, let's bring Keith into the stream. And first of all, good afternoon, Keith, and thank you for your patience. I don't know quite what went wrong there. I must have pressed the wrong button, I think.
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah, unfortunately, other people could hear me. They probably couldn't see me. That was the problem. Okay, so before we get into the main part of the show today, Keith, take me back to how you came to be in the online training business.
We started off, I was teaching scuba diving of all things. And then in doing that, I started having to teach first aid. And then we sort of developed the business on, and we had 2 parallel businesses, one doing scuba diving, one doing first aid. We started teaching instructors. But then we wanted to try and be a bit more flexible with it all, so that we were, offering courses in different manners. And at that time, online training was quite in its infancy. So then we created a bit more, we got a bit further down the line. And then when some rules changed with the HSE allowing blended training, then we sort of jumped on that and started on offering e-learning, video-based e-learning to our customers and new customers, and then took it on from there, and it's expanded. Now we offer a whole host of courses, probably about 300 plus, putting on new courses every single week, from construction-based courses, health and safety, first aid, mental health, pet first aid, care courses, just about anything really. and then we run them in different formats.
And I mentioned the fact that you launched very, very quickly a free COVID-19 training course. But how else have you responded to the current pandemic? Have you had to change your business model at all, or is this just carry on regardless?
Yeah, well, obviously it hit every business hard. Large proportion of our training is still classroom-based training, so that did make a massive difference. But the coronavirus COVID-19 course that went live, we've just literally turned 10,000 people gone through that yesterday. And we also launched a healthcare version, so that's going up the same sort of numbers. So we're pretty much up to around about 20,000 people in total, having watched both of the courses. We've also launched other free courses: family first aid, knife crime, things like this. Courses that, knife crime first aid. I better clarify that. But yeah, lots of courses that are potentially free courses. Some are free courses, but also still working on new programs. So from a business point of view, once the shutdown came, we had some remote workers anyway, but everyone else just worked remotely. Obviously, our classroom side has stopped, but we've now also launched virtual-based training to bring the instructor directly in, exactly the same as we're talking now.
We'll come back to that in a second, but one of the things I wanted to address, there does seem to have been a degree of resistance in some corners of the demolition industry to the very notion of online and what you describe as blended training. I'll get you to explain blended training in a second. But the current situation surely means that they're going to need to rethink their stance now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with classroom training is you're in with somebody. So that's the first thing. So really class numbers are going to probably reduce. Typically a first aid at work course, looking at 12 people. I think most classrooms, unless you've got some very big classrooms, can be cut down to like numbers of 6, which means it's going to be even more expensive to send people on courses. You can have duplicate courses, so costs are going to go up. So I think really the training world is going to have to change massively. A lot of people who were anti-e-learning before, Facebook groups and that, saying, you can't possibly teach e-learning. But people learn online now. They do. Whether it be a doctor, whether it be surveyors, all sorts of different industries learn online. So why don't we learn health, safety and other subjects? You're bringing training to when the student wants the training rather than just when the course has to be running based around the instructor. So even now, if people are unable to work, they can still do a training course. They can do them from home, they can do e-learning, or they can do classroom-based. We just try to make it a bit more engaging using video e-learning rather than PowerPoint-based e-learning. So I think PowerPoint-based can be just a matter of sitting there, clicking a button and finishing the course. Whereas ours, we've sort of expanded it up with lots of resources, access to the course later on, so you see the updates. So yeah, there has been some resistance, but it seems to be wavering quite well, and we're getting through it quite good now.
Stream there for some reason. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It was almost just like everything just went very, very black. So I'm not sure where you got to, but I'll go back to that again. We were talking about the need to probably embrace e-learning now. And I mentioned the term blended training. Can you just give us a quick explanation of what blended training is?
Blended training is where you do some of the course online and some of the course in the classroom. So typically environments there will be the first aid at work. It's a standard course they did in construction. Currently, you'd have to do it over 3 days, or a first aid at work requalification over 2 days. And what we can do then is do 1 day of it online. So it can be done on your mobile phone, a tablet, computers, whenever, anytime. So that part of the course is done. You'll have some testing and bits and pieces like that. You see all the materials, and then you go to a classroom course to finish the course off. So as far as the cost of the course goes, they're usually a bit cheaper, sometimes the same money. But the key thing is less people off work at the same time. So you've got people working for only 2 days off work rather than the whole 3 days. So it makes it a much more flexible way of training.
I think that flexibility is one of the things that we're going to need to look at probably more closely as we all start to go back to work. One of the things that I've highlighted here on previous shows is the fact that there is going to be a backlog of training. Obviously, training has stopped temporarily. And if, as you say, classrooms, rather than doing 12 at a time, they become 6 or 5 or 4 at a time, that backlog is going to go on as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the first aid at work rules have changed slightly to allow a first aid at work or EFAW certificate to be extended by 3 months. So currently, that's about to finish fairly soon. So if this goes on much further, even if it stops as of the 1st of June, we're going to have a backlog of 3 months worth of training. So if you're going to try and get a course in that time, you don't really, and also work is starting again then. So the last thing you want is to leave people off work. So the likes of blended training for that would work really, really well. And also e-learning, you know, if you're going to sit on a health and safety course, you're going to do it online or manual handling, things like that. You know, it's much simpler and easier if you can try and save that classroom time, because everyone needs to work now. It needs to get out there rather than spend time sitting in the classroom.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the resistances to online and e-training in the past has been, I think there's this perception that it's a matter of sitting down and just watching a series of videos and then sitting at sort of almost a touchscreen test at the end of it. But you've gone way beyond that now, haven't you?
Yeah, we've taken lots of things on. We've got, obviously, you do watch the videos, you see some, you answer some questions, you still do a test. You know, the tests are very adaptive, so no one person gets the same test. But there's loads of digital resources, student manuals, links, and bits and pieces that go with the course. You have access on from it. We try and make sure training doesn't finish when the course does, so you still have access to the course. You can have weekly video refreshers to keep the skills fresh. We're even introducing 360 video. So rather than just watch a video, you can actually spin the video around a 360 degree. So if you're looking at a risk assessing example, you know, rather than just looking at a still picture, you can actually spin the picture around and then you can ask questions based on that. Or you can see an entire scenario in something like first aid, from someone doing it to the ambulance arriving behind. And you can just do all that from your computer, your mobile phone, or you can put a headset on if you want, but that becomes a bit more cumbersome. But yeah, it's just trying to make training that little bit more interesting for people.
I think one of the things that struck me when you and I sat down to do the podcast before was you just mentioned training resources. Once somebody's signed up with ProTrainings and done a course and that kind of thing, there's more to come, isn't there? You know, there is refresher, but there's also, you know, free online training. There's materials to read and that kind of thing. It's in the nicest possible way, and I know you're too humble to say it, but it's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole point is I didn't want training ever to finish when the classroom finished. You know, I wanted to give more back to it. And we got the facility there. You know, whether you do a classroom course as well, you get the same benefit. So we've got 1,200 instructors throughout the UK teaching our courses. So with those, if you do a classroom-based course or a blended course, you still got access to a whole video database. You still get access to digital student manuals and all the other bits to complement it. So if the instructor's talking about first aid at work regulations, you know, you can actually go onto your dashboard and see that directly, from, you know, on your phone or whatever, or know more information. And you have that access as long as you want. And also you can have video of the week. So every Monday morning you get a video subject come through. It just reminds you and keeps training up to date. And then underneath you've got the latest news from our blogs as well.
I think there's this perception among those that have been resistant to e-learning that it's a little too remote, in that you as the instructor are never actually sure of who is actually sitting at the other end of the telephone line or the computer line, as it were. You know, are they paying attention? Are they actually taking it on board? Are they getting somebody else to answer the questions for them? But the developments that you've made more recently, that overcomes all of that. I mean, you are literally, much as we are now, you're literally dealing face to face, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, e-learning, there's always that worry, but then again, you've also got the worry of a classroom course that someone sitting there is not really paying attention. That happens quite often as well. But what we've gone now is the next stage. So literally we've just launched now through our same dashboards. We give every student a dashboard and every instructor has a dashboard. So you can literally now sign up on a virtual class. So all the courses can be listed. You can literally click on a button online on our website, sign up on a class. You'll have a login area. From that login area, you click a link when your class is ready to join the class, and then it's just a real instructor talking to you. So it'll be no different from me sitting here talking to you. I've got all the students on the screen. I can see them on one screen. The other screen, I can see the PowerPoint, what I'm working with. They can ask questions at any time. We can move them into breakout rooms to do little exercises, absolutely anything you want, but with a real instructor watching them. We've also built a very clever testing system as well. So as it goes through, when there's a test at the end, it can be what we call open response, where you have to type answers or multiple choice. The instructor will just send a test straight through. The students will then do the test. If it's multiple choice, it will self-mark, but it also tells them where they went wrong. So just because you pass the course, you might pass it at 90%, but that still means 10% you got wrong. So the system will show you the wrong answers, and you agree the answers are right, and then just go straight in from there. Open response ones, the instructor will actually physically mark them while you're on the lesson. So there's lots of different ways around of working it. It makes it much more interactive. If you're on an e-learning course being taught by a real person that you can ask a question to, we're running those a lot now. And that's as soon as this happened, we literally within days we were up and running our first courses, and now we've expanded it to different studios. We can run multiple courses, and also now we're just launching out that all of our instructor network can also offer our courses remotely as well. There's some you can't do. They won't let you do some of the practical based skills. So for example, you could talk about working at height or things like that, but obviously you can't put harnesses on, which are part of the course. So you could work it almost as a blended format. First aid at work, you can do the e-learning course, but also you can do a theory blended module this way as well, but you cannot do the whole course because the practical skills involved. It's not been allowed yet, even if people have got mannequins at the other end. But no, I mean, there's lots of opportunity for it, but the advantage is it's a real person sat there, so you can actually talk to them and listen to them, and the course can go in the direction that a normal classroom course would.
I think that's one of the interesting things from my point of view, sort of sitting back and watching this pandemic play itself out. I think I don't think we're going to go back to what we're calling a normal. I don't even think there'll be a new normal. I just think I think we've embraced as a nation and as a society different ways of doing things. Thinking about my parents, they've embraced online shopping, for example. My guess is they probably won't go back to schlepping round Sainsbury's on a Saturday afternoon. They will stick with that. And I do think those people that have been exposed to e-learning and that kind of thing through this crisis, I do think they will think twice about going back to the old way of doing things.
Yeah, we find that already. We're picking up a lot of new customers, and they're saying, well, why did we ever bother with the classroom course? A company who's sending 12 people and they're paying for a day's wages to send them, and they're paying for the fuel and the bits and pieces for a course for an entire day, when those people could either sit at the office and do the course, or they could stay at home and do the course. It's just much more flexible. It's back to this training up to now has always been when the instructor wants to teach the course. So you book on a course at a set date in a set location, whereas now we can have a course that is purely aimed around much more onto the student. So it makes it a lot more flexible and easier for them to take.
So I know you've got better things to do. I'm sure you've got some people to train, so I'm going to let you go in a second. But where can our viewers find out more about ProTrainings?
Yeah, you can go straight onto our website, protrainings.uk. On there, we've got all the information, and the courses button goes through all the main courses. Over the coming days, it literally only just launched the full blended program. We've been doing all the virtual program. Over the coming days, you'll now see options on all the courses for virtual training as well. As of later next week, there'll be loads more courses being put on by our instructor network. But right now, they can buy any one of the e-learning courses directly through there to actually get on training any one of the courses they want. So as I say, there's about 300 to choose from, so there's plenty of choice.
That's fantastic. Keith, look, I really appreciate you joining us today at the last minute. I also appreciate the fact that you put on some free training during the COVID crisis, and I appreciate even more your patience with while my technology went completely batshit. I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.
All the best. Bye-bye. Right, my apologies for the technical issues there. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. The problem with this technology is it only takes a slight glitch in the Wi-Fi connection, and all of a sudden I'm staring at a blank screen, and I can't even tell the other person at the other end of the line that I am staring at a blank screen. But I do appreciate Keith's flexibility and his patience while we were doing that. I will very quickly recap, as I say, because we did have a bit of confusion at the beginning there. A couple of shows we've got coming up. Tomorrow's guest is Roopa Craven from Ritchie Brothers. Strongly urge you to listen to that because it does show just how Ritchie Brothers have rolled with the punches from the pandemic. And as I say, Monday marks the start, certainly here in the UK, of Mental Health Awareness Week. So Danny Kearney, who was a previous guest, is coming back to talk about all things mental health awareness. And one of the things I want to address with him, and hopefully we can get some of you involved as well, is we use the term mental health awareness quite a lot. And I think that's all fine and dandy, but I think we should now be at the point where it's more than awareness. I think our need now is to move beyond awareness and to actually address some of the root causes of the mental health issues that the demolition and construction workforce are experiencing. Things like, insecurity over their job, insecurity over finance, being away from home for long periods of time, isolation and that kind of thing. So if you've got anything to say on that, we'd love to hear about it. That will be at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Obviously, that will be broadcast live on Demolition, on Facebook rather, on the Demolition news page. You can leave us comments and questions in advance, or you can be there for the show as well. Just one final thing, and it kind of ties in with what I want to talk to Danny Kearney about, and with the mental health awareness week that's coming up. I'm not a psychologist. Some would argue I'm barely a journalist, but I do know this much. I think your views and your mindset and even your mood can be really influenced by those around you. If you surround yourself with negative, whining people, sooner or later you'll find yourself becoming negative and whining right along with them. Conversely, I think if you surround yourself with upbeat, dynamic, enthusiastic individuals, that will rub off as well, and you'll find yourself feeling slightly better about the world. Now, as I said, I'm not a psychologist, but I think it's safe to say that now, perhaps more than ever, there is a need to surround ourselves with glass half full optimists rather than glass entirely empty pessimists. I'm not suggesting we make a point of associating with a class clown. That's not going to help anyone, and it's certainly not going to help anyone overcome the loss of a loved one during this pandemic. But I do honestly think, positivity is vitally important right now. Many of us have been temporarily or otherwise robbed of our jobs, the jobs that put food on the table, that sets our daily schedule, that actually defines us. I think we're all worried about the prospect of going back to work when we know there's a virus potentially still out there. But I think we need to remain upbeat as best we can. So we will be back here again at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, as I say, with Roopa, Craven from Ritchie Brothers. We will be looking up rather than down, trying to take some positives out of the current situation when there are very few to be had. And we'll be doing the same again all of next week. As I say, we're planning to start with Danny Kearney on Monday. We are speaking to Dr. Terry Quarmby as well, the world's, to the best of my knowledge, the world's only demolition doctor. We're hoping to get him on next week as well, to talk about a number of things. I'll leave that one up in the air because I'm not entirely sure we're going to make the technology work, but if we can, we certainly will. So until tomorrow afternoon, thanks for your patience today, and I apologize for the technology. I don't know. I'm just going to go and hit the server with a very big spanner. Hopefully that will cure things for tomorrow. Thanks for your time today. Thanks again to Keith for joining us. He was a last-minute addition because our original guest dropped out at the last minute, so I do appreciate him dropping everything to join us today. I would urge you to go and have a look at the ProTrainings website, not just to sit the courses that you are required to sit, but there's an awful lot there that you might actually want to sit just for your own peace of mind. Things like family healthcare or family first aid. If you're at home with children, they do have a nasty habit of hurting themselves. I know mine always did. It's a nice skill to have under your belt. So go and have a look at the ProTrainings website. You might just find something of use there. But until tomorrow, I'm going to sign off in the usual way. Look after yourself, look after your family, your friends and your colleagues. Stay safe, stay positive, and I'll be back here again at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Until then, have a good day.